So last week, I shared a sneak peek behind the scenes of an exclusive 3-day Site Fixer Upper Challenge that I recently hosted. You got full access to day one of the challenge where we talked about how to stop letting a template or your competition's website determine what you think needs to live on your own website. I gave you some tips and homework for setting up the perfect website roadmap and making sure your client has all the information they needed to book your services that same day. Now, before I press play on day 2, you'll want to make sure that you have access to the workbook that accompanies today's video on making it easy for your dream clients to choose you. You can find that linked here, or I'm also going to pop it in the description below for you. Hey friend, and welcome back to day 2 of the Site Fixer Upper Challenge. Today, we're talking all about how to make choosing you easy for all those potential dream clients that are currently wandering through your website right now. As I hinted at yesterday, we have some really powerful work that we're going to do today. We're going to chat all about buyer's psychology. I have a very important story about Jam for you, and we'll talk about exactly what some service providers do to make choosing them super easy, which will help you do the same. So let's get started with my Jam story. I know it seems random, but I promise there's a very important point here, which will make it way easier for your ideal clients to make a buying choice on your website for one of your offerings. So in 2000, Sheena and Mark wanted to put an idea to the test. It had always been assumed in the world of business that the more choices offered, the more likely it was that customers would be able to find just the right thing for them, meaning that offering 20 different service packages was better than just offering 2 because it increased the chances that the customer would find something that perfectly fit them. So Sheena and Mark set up an experiment. They went into a grocery store, they set up a nice table, they put together a little display and put 24 jars of jam on the table for sampling. And I mean, who doesn't like free samples in the supermarket? I do. So each jar of jam was a different flavor, and for the full day, they attracted customers to the table, offered them samples of whichever jams they wanted to try, and they gave them each a coupon for $1 off a jar of jam. Then they could track by the number of times the coupon was used to determine how effective their sample table was at turning interested jam samplers into jam buyers. And then the next day, Sheena and Mark went back to the same grocery store, set up the same table in the same location, set up their nice display, but this time they only put 6 jars of jam on the table for sampling. The number of jars of jam was the only thing that was different between the 2 days. They went about attracting customers to the table just the same as before. They offered a sample of whichever jams the customers wanted to try, and again gave them each a coupon for $1 off a jar of jam. Again, they tracked the number of times the coupons were used to determine how many jam samplers that day turned into jam buyers. And what did they find? People were 10 times more likely to buy a jar of jam on day 2, the day where there was only 6 jars of jam to choose between, instead of on day 1, where customers were choosing between 24 different varieties of jam. So Sheena and Mark learned from their little supermarket experiment that giving customers more options didn't result in better sales, it actually resulted in worse sales. Why is this? Giving every option under the sun results in choice paralysis. When there's too many options, people throw in the towel and they don't make a decision at all. They postpone or they just scrap the idea to buy altogether. And this has been proven in multiple studies, including one where a workplace tested the number of retirement investment options presented to employees. They also found that as the number of retirement investment options increased, the chances that employees chose any decreased. I'm sure you can well imagine that if your new employer sat you down with 24 different retirement plan options, and if retirement investments is an area you maybe have no past knowledge or understanding in, making a decision on that is kind of hard. So it may even take a little bit of research and late night homework to actually make a decision. And you know what's easier than that? Making no decision at all and saying I'll pick a retirement plan next year. And it's same for the customers on your website. You want to present just a couple of offerings, not 24. You want to make picking one of your offerings easier than picking none at all. When I was a website designer, I had just 2 offerings on my website. A package for a website and a package for a brand and a website. How did the customers choose between the 2 packages? If they had no logo, they went for the brand and a website package. And if they had a logo already, they went for the package with just a website. Pretty easy decision to make, right? And while choosing between 2 options isn't tough, I took the explanation on my website a step further and still indicated need a logo, go for this package. Don't need a logo, go for this package. I made it so that when it came to choosing between the 2 options, there was a very simple, clear indicator of which package was right for them. That was if they needed a logo or not. Now, That is making a decision on your website super stupid simple. So what does all this mean for you? Streamline your packages and offerings, present just a couple of options, and make it really clear how they're different and which one is right for them based on some simple to understand criteria like the logo or no logo included thing. And if you don't have packages at all, now is definitely the time to create them. Remember, the whole goal of the challenge is to build a site that sells, meaning we want people to make a buying decision while on your website while they're browsing. If we don't give people the option to decide to buy while they're on our websites will never really do the sales work for us, which is kind of the point. So, let's say, for example, I'm in the market for some life coaching. I go to a website and it says, I'm a life coach, get in touch and I'll create you a custom proposal for your needs. In that situation, I can't actually make a buying decision on that coach's website at all. First, I need to probably get in touch, pour my life story into their contact form, wait for them to prepare a custom proposal, which, by the way, that life coach needs to spend a good bit of time putting that thing together, which is a lot of work. And then, once I get the proposal, I can make the decision to buy or not. And I mean, if my budget is $100 and their services are $500 a month with a 3-month minimum, we're kind of wasting all of our time because there's no way those budgets are going to work together. So, if you don't have packages already, now is the time. Create just a couple packages, less is more here, and make it super clear for someone to decide between your packages, even if they're not educated on your field of business at all. Now, what do I mean by that? Here's an example from my own life about a time when I was making a decision, when making a decision was easy, even when I wasn't educated on the topic. So I was on the market for a hosting platform for my podcast. I went to a few different websites to check out their different options. And one website had packages that were differentiated by the number of megabytes of audio storage for the podcast. There was a $5 package that had 50 megabytes of storage, $15 package that had 250 megabytes of storage, and a $20 package that had 400 megabytes of storage. Problem was, I had never created a podcast episode before, so I had no clue how many megabytes of storage the average podcast episode would be, meaning I couldn't make a decision. I first had to leave their website and go do some research on how many megabytes of storage the average 1-hour podcast episode was before I was educated enough to make a decision. So, what did I end up choosing? I chose a whole different podcast host that differentiated between their packages by the number of hours of audio that was uploaded every month. I knew that my plan was to do a 1-hour episode once a week, meaning that I went for the package that included up to 6 hours of uploaded audio a month. Simple. Okay, so once you know that it's best practice to just give a couple of service options on your website, and that creating packages is key to helping people make a buying decision while on your website, let me just address the one bit of pushback that I get on this, which you might be thinking right now. If you're like, but Paige, I can't create just one package that fits everyone. My clients need different things, which I totally hear you. Let's say you're a business consultant who helps people create their first sales webinar. The necessary items every client is going to need for sure is the overall coaching and education around hosting their first webinar, maybe a process template and a game plan for creating the webinar content, a guide on what to talk about when in the webinar, including coaching around how to make sales on a webinar, and probably also some education on the different webinar software options and basically your recommendations. So you could then have a more premium service for the clients that are really not down to personally do all the tech stuff related that's necessary to set up a webinar. So then you have a second package where your team does the tech setup for your client. Now, some clients might also want like fill-in-the-blank slides where they pop their content into pre-designed slides, whereas other people might already have a slide deck created that's on brand for them, so they actually wouldn't want your slide deck. So in this case, what you want to do is create 2 packages, one with the tech done for them and one without the tech done, and then also like an optional add-on which they can add on to either package. So those packages are easy to determine what's different, and there's an optional piece someone can choose if they feel like they want it. Doing it this way enables you to create simple to say yes to offers, and having 1 or 2 main packages with a clear difference, and then if needed, people can add on the bits that they want. It's simple, it's easy to make a decision on, and it allows people to make the purchasing decision while on your website, as opposed to like, inquire and we'll talk about your needs, which doesn't let anyone decide on anything. So, to give you some examples from other industries, nutritionists, for example, might offer nutrition coaching and have an add-on option for meal plans too. Web designers might have a web design package with a set number of pages included, but the option to add on more website pages if the client wants them. Florists might have 2 packages, one package that's for like just a wedding at a venue, and another for a wedding at both a church and a reception at a venue. and then offer add-ons in case the bride and groom want more flowers or arrangements on top of the normally included amount. You get the idea. So, now that you know all about packages, limiting their number to make decisions easy, and offering a la carte add-on options in case there's more important extras, let's talk about getting our site visitors to take the action on our website that we want them to. Oftentimes, we go to websites and they're covered in busyness and buttons and stuff shouting at you from every single corner. Subscribe on YouTube, listen to my latest podcast episode, subscribe to my newsletter too, follow me on Facebook, and Instagram, and TikTok, and Twitter, and every other social media platform. And then after that, book a free consultation call and then join my Facebook group. Oh, and by the way, buy my service, you can book right now on my website. I'm sure you've seen that too. You go to a website and it's just a hot mess of calls to actions to do 13 different things. But let's be real. Our ideal customers are probably browsing our website from their teeny tiny phone screen while in a busy line at Starbucks, and it's their turn to order next. Do you know how many of those zillion actions, which most websites ask people to take, that their visitor is actually going to complete? 1, maybe 2. I mean, the barista is going to call her up next to order, and then your site visitor is on to ordering her dessert in a cup at Starbucks, by which time she's totally forgot about your website and she's back to the 100 other distractions and things vying for her attention in a day. So, that's why it's so important that you limit the calls to action on your website to be only the really, really important ones. So I want you to think about, if you get someone to do only one thing on your website, what would it be? Likely, it's going to be something related to booking you. Tomorrow in day 3, we're going to talk about what action you want someone to take on your website to book in, depending on what services you offer and what kind of business you are. So we'll determine exactly what that action is tomorrow together, but for now, remember that whatever action is going to get someone to book, that should be your primary call to action on your website, and then eliminate all the other distracting, less important calls to action. Now, there is one caveat to this. What if someone isn't ready to book for your services, but they're definitely interested and they're just kind of like browsing and window shopping right now? Let's take future brides, for example. They're probably scoping out vendors and maybe locations well before their boyfriends have even popped the question. I mean, let's be real, we're all guilty here. So, while that potential bride on your cotton candy food truck website isn't actually ready to book you because she's not even engaged yet, she definitely wants to hire you for her wedding down the road. This is a situation where it would make sense to have a secondary call to action. Your primary one is whatever the right next step is to book you, but your secondary call to action should be something where you can keep in touch with that potential very interested, but maybe just not ready to buy yet customer. So, what you want to think about is, what's the best way to keep in touch with this person? Maybe you get their email or get them to join your Facebook group, whatever it is for your business. Exactly what you want to do depends on how you're currently keeping top of mind with your down the road customers. But basically just know that you can have a secondary call to action on your website too, but do not open the floodgates now and have 7 different calls to action to do a zillion different things. So remember, we're trying to go for a clean, strategic website because your customer is soon going to be back to ordering her coffee and going about her day. So my homework for you today is to determine what those packages are and possibly a la carte options as well. Make packages that have everything your ideal client would want, and anything else that's optional, have as an a la carte option as well. And then ensure there's a difference between your packages, and maybe also make a clear indicator like, need a logo, go for this. Don't need a logo, go for that. Need the webinar tech set up, go for this. So remember the jars of jam story. Don't go making 12 packages here, less is definitely more. And then have your add-on options for more of something within a package, like more bridesmaids bouquets if you're a florist, or maybe more website pages if you're a website designer, or some add-on that only certain people would actually want. All right, so let's hit pause there for today so you have a chance to grab the workbook, again, linked here or in the description, and finish up your homework for day 2 of the challenge. Now, stay tuned for day 3, which I'll be sharing with you next week. We'll be talking about the crucial one step that's between your website visitor browsing on your website and actually booking your services. You do not want to miss the final piece of the puzzle for building a website that books, so be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the little bell button to be notified of the next video dropping next week. And if you enjoyed day 2 of the challenge, be sure to let me know by hitting the like button, and I will see you back here next week for the final part in the series. In the meantime, here are a few videos that you might enjoy too.